the files are there on the drive, items_csv.csv, and the other one is items.csv, right? So that is what we would be using today for one exercise, and then we'll move on to the MySQL workbench. So first we'll complete off what we have started out yesterday. So let me try to do that, and then we will try to complete the loading aspect. We'll try to load data into MySQL. Right. So hope everybody is able to see the screen and able to hear my voice, right? Just give me a thumbs up if everything is fine. All right. So things are fine. Okay. So let's get started then. So we created couple of tables yesterday in Kirana DB, right? That is the table, that is the database that we have created. And in the Kirana DB, we will have these tables. One is items, the other one was departments, the other one was, and the third one was customers. These are the three tables that we will try to use in Kirana DB. So in order to use Kirana DB, we will try to first use it, right? Or if we say that is the current database, we will try to use Kirana DB and then hit execute this, and then we'll see that Kirana DB gets highlighted in our schemas navigator pane, right? And in order to know if that is the current DB or not, what is the command that we'll use? We'll use select database, right? Select database will give us which database is being used. Right, so we get select database and it says it is Kirana DB. Fine, so this is the database that we are trying to use now. And next thing is we have seen how to provide aliases, and then we have to use the where condition. And for where condition, we kind of used how to use it yesterday, and we used AND operator and the not operator, right? And also the, I think we didn't use AND, right, till now? Okay, right. It was only the comparison operators that we have used. So in where we have not used AND. So we'll try to use the AND operator now. We want to specify two particular values, right, at the same time, right? So what I'll do is I'll use the same condition that we had used yesterday, right? Where item name is chocolates, right? This is what we had used. I'll use the same thing and then say price is greater than 100 or greater than or equal to 100, whichever is the way we want to check it. So, and price is greater than or equal to 100. That is what we want to do. So select item name as name, item description as item description, or we could say item description. Anything is fine. So item description, and from items where item name is equal to chocolates and price is 100, right? Let us run this. So we get these two values, right? Two rows are given to us or as the output. And in these two rows, we find that the chocolates is available and the price is greater than 100. Or if you want to check everything, right, we can just use this statement itself and use, instead of the select item name as description, we would try to remove this and then use only the wildcard, right? We'll just use the wildcard. And this would give us all the columns for the condition that we are checking for, where price is greater than or equal to 100 and the item name is chocolate. Okay, so that is how we will try to check for it. So the same thing, if we want to check for something like item name is the same thing. We'll use the same thing, and it's just that we want to check for the price which is less than 100. So we'll make this as less than 100. So we get the columns in this fashion. What happened? I think it's items, right? The column, the table name should be items. Right now we get null value. So we are trying to look for prices where something is less than 100. Right now we do not have something that is less than 100. So probably we will not get any of these values because we're just looking for chocolates. Or instead, what I'll do is I'll remove this and put a percentile, right? So, or probably all the chocolates types that we have nuts as well, right? So then also it is not going to work. So there is nothing with price less than 100. So that is the case that we have. So everything is above 100 right now. Okay. So let us try to change this and then look if it is greater than 100 and see if this works. So looks like we do not have anything greater than 100 also. If I try to put this, what is happening? Why is that we are getting all the columns as null? Item name chocolates is there and price is greater than or equal to 100. Oh, I see, I see. This one should be, instead of when I'm trying to use this, right, when I'm trying to use the string, right? When I'm trying to use the string, what we will try to look at is basically match it with the pattern, right? Because this is a string, we'll try to look it with a pattern. So now we get the output, right? Whenever we are trying to look for string, we use like, right? That is what would give us the output. If you're not using this, right? And if you're trying to just use it as it is, then probably when you're trying to use it as an equal to, right? Then at that point, we'll get a error. Fine. So let's try to run this again. So now we do not have any values that are less than 100. Now, if it is greater than 100, we have values for this. Or if I just remove this and then say less than 100, then there is also no value. Fine. So that is why we were not getting the values. If something is greater than or equal to 100, okay, greater than or equal to 100, and something that starts with, let's say, CH, and then we want to get the rest of the statement, probably we'll get, oh, something is, okay, yeah, it should be a percentile, right? And we don't need this, right? Because that would not have anything anyways. So we'll get all the 4 rows. Fine, everything is greater than or equal to 100. Okay, so that is how we'll use pattern with respect to the string value. We'll use the like operator. Fine. So that is what we are going to use here. So like and in the where condition, we are going to use like for string, and then a quantity value is there. That is why we are using a comparison operator. So that is how this is going to work. Fine. So that is what we have done. And next thing is, let's say we do not want the items which are not chocolates and prices, or we do not want to check this condition and see what kind of records are being given. So in such a case, what I'll do is select not these records. We want the other records. So I say where not, and then include this condition here in this fashion. Okay. So we want all the records that do not match this condition. So I say where not and give me the other values. So everything else is returned. Fine. We are getting all the columns as well. And also the records which do not match this condition, or which are not chocolates or chocolate nuts and the price is greater than 100. Give us the rest of the records. Then we'll use this not condition. Instead, we can use this in capital case instead of lowercase, because capital case will help us in order to define it correctly. Okay, so that is what we have done here, right? So this is how it is going to work when you use a not operator. Fine. The next thing is, what we'll try to do is, we have already seen how we are going to use where in right in with respect to string. So we'll try to check some other ways also. If something has to start with a letter, right? You have seen C. Let's say we want to get all the biscuits, right? Then we get all the biscuits here, and I want to get only where cream is available, right? Or the item name should have the cream as it cream in it. So we can specify something like this, and then we'll get all the cream biscuits that are available, right? So that is what we do. Select star from items where item name like percentile cream. So this would give us all the records or rows which is having cream in it, or the item name should have cream in it, or it is that is starting with something and then has cream as the ending letter. Okay. So we can also do something like this. If it contains C, right? If it contains C, then try to return that, right? Starts with something and there should be C. So we have biscuits, chocolates, etc. And probably we have biscuits, cream, chocolate nuts is also there, right? So something is there and then we have a C in it. And then there is something else after it. So, right. So this is how we'll be able to get this. So this is how we can use like as an operator. And let's say we want something that has M in it, right? So, or it is ending with an M, right? All the item names that are ending with an M. So this is what we can do. So the item names that are ending with M are biscuit creams. So all the rows that are ending with an M, right? Where the item names are ending with an M, not everything is ending with an M, but it's just item name, right? So we get all the columns for the rows where the item name is ending with an M. Okay. So this is how we'll be able to use the like operator, and we have already used it in the where condition. Right now, the next thing is what we'll try to do is we'll try to check for null values. Okay. Now, this is something that we have already experimented. Uh, so, so for that, we will try to insert certain records with having null values. So let me try to get some values or records that I have prepared. So I'll do this here in this fashion. Let us see what are being inserted. Okay. So we have insert into items and then value, and I'm leaving out the item ID as it is, right? Because if I leave that value as null, we have given the item ID to be auto incremented. If you remember the schema that we created for for our items table, let me try to take a look at it. And probably it should be somewhere above. This is departments, and yeah, we are at items now. So if you remember, item ID was of type int, and then it is unsigned, not null, and auto increment. So we had provided auto increment for item ID. So if you're not providing the item ID, right? So we are going to see that the value that was there last would be appended with 1, right? So if it was 125, the last record value was 125. The next record would be 126. That would be the next value that would be inserted at item ID. If item ID was 126, then the next value would be 127 for this record because it is null. So it doesn't accept null value, it auto increments. Similarly for this value and similarly for this value. So let's try to run these values first, right? First 3 records. Let me try to run this. This got inserted, this got inserted, and this got inserted. Then I have insert into items value. Then there is null, and then we have SKU code, and then the item code. Item code also I'm giving this as null, and then we'll see what is present in the table. So I do select star from table, which is basically items. So we see the items are inserted, and let us go way down and see, as we saw that there was 125 as the last value yesterday. Now today, because the rows were inserted, we have 126, and this is the value that we have, CB301, right? That is our SKU code for this particular item. And we have other records as well. And for the last insert that happened, we have the null, right? Because this is what it was presented as. So we have a null value for this, right? So we have these values in this fashion, right? So now we have certain values that are there. And now also, let's say all that we have with the records are SKU code and item code. These are the values that we want to insert. We do not have the other values. So in order to insert only these 2 values, these are 2 new records. this SKU code was not there in the table. So was this SKU code. So both of them were not there in the table. Now we want to insert them. So I insert into items, and all that I want to insert is only in these two columns. The other columns, we do not have values. So I just want to insert them and see what is the data that is present or how it will get inserted. So I run this. I've inserted this and then check if there is any data in the table. So, right. So once we do this, we have some data. And as we see here, 130 and 131 were generated by the database itself because auto increment was provided on the item ID column. But for the other two columns, which is SKU code and item code, we provided those values. They are inserted, right? So SR9011 and 3045 were inserted. SR9012 and 3046 were inserted. Item name and item description are provided as NA values, N/A, because this was the default value that we had given when the schema was defined, right? So when the schema was defined, we are providing this as NA values. And the quantity was 0 and the price was 0, right? This is the default value that we had provided. In case no values are given for these columns, then these default values are inserted into the columns, right? So respectively, these values are present now. Okay. So that is how we have the item values for given set of column values that are being inserted. If something is not there, one column is auto incrementing it. If the other column values are not there, the default values are being placed in them. So this is how this is going to work, right? Because the way we provided our schema, it has some value or the other, right? And if no value is there, for example, item code, right? Item code, we had null value, and because this accepts null value, there is nothing like not null that has been defined on this. So there was nothing like that defined. So this accepts only null value. And because null value is accepted, this is what it shows. We have a null value. Now, what we want to do is in the given table, display those records where null value is there. So in order to check for null value, let's say if you do something like this, select star from items where item code equals to null, right? Let's start this. It gives us a blank row, or it gives us a row which is having null values, right? Or it is a row that is still not present, right? So equals to does not work. What we use is the is keyword, and then say if item code is null, then give me those records. And you see one record being displayed because we inserted one record with the null value. And if you want to get all those records with that are not null, then we will do something like this, where item code is not null. Right? It will give all the other records for which item code is not null. Right? So whenever we are using null, only is or is not will work. When we want to check if there is a null value, we have to use the is keyword. And we want to check if there is no null value, then we have to use is not keyword. That is how it is going to work, right? Does that uh, clarify the doubt that we had, guys? Is that fine? Any questions still here? Okay, so all right. So once that is done, so similarly, we can use for NA values. NA values are still fine. All that we have to do is select star from items where NA value was NA. Now, where it was item description was, and then we'll use like, right? And it will give us these records for which item name was NA and item description was NA, right? So for NA values, this is how we can use because this is treated as a string. Okay, so we use the like keyword in order to check for values where NA is present. Okay, so this is what we do now. And then once we do this, let's look at how do we update our values. Let's say there is a discount on certain values, okay? And the discount is because there is a festive season and we want to update our price column with something. So let's say update items and then we say set price is equal to. So we want to update the value itself or we want to change from the existing value and by offering a 10% discount to it. Yes, update set and we can use where or directly we can use set price is equals to and then the discount is 10%. So the or 5%. Let me put 5% and it should be applied on price. So update item set price is equal to 0.95 into price. Right? This is what we get for the tables, items, and all the prices are 90% of the original value. So if we had 10, we will have 9.5. If it was 20, we'll have 19. If it was 40, we will have 38. So on and so forth. Right? So this is how we can update the values. Right? So there is a discount of 5%. Now there was excess stock and we had a lot of chocolates and it is some festive time like Diwali. And we want to kind of update the price as well. And we want to also see that the quantity is also higher side because a lot of sweets would be sold and a lot of chocolates would be sold. So we want to add another 5% on the already existing discounted price. So what happened was they already applied the label and the price was there. So on the counter, we want to add another 5% discount for these prices that are brought into the store, right? So for that, what I'll do is we'll just set the quantity and this is only for chocolates. We want to do it for only for chocolates. So set price is equals to again on the existing price, we want to add another 5% discount, right? This is what we want to do and quantity has to be changed now. We have additional quantity in the sales place. So or the where we have our stocks. So wherever we have placed, another 15 have been added. Okay, so we want to update that as well, wherever it is. And for what is this quantity applied? This is only for chocolates. So we want to say item name is equals to only for chocolates, right? I want to change this. This is only for chocolates. Okay, so this is how we are going to do it. Okay, so let me try to show this here. So we have just give right update item set price is equals to 0.95 times price and quantity is quantity plus 15 where item name is equals to chocolates, right? So this got executed and let's see. Because we are only adding 2 decimals, so probably for the items where the price is calculated more than 2 decimals will not be available. So we have to alter this column. Maybe we need to add 3 or 4 columns, right? 3 or 4 decimals, not columns, 3 or 4 decimals, only then it would work. All right, so this is our updated price for all the columns where, and also for chocolates, right? This is for everything. For chocolates, there is an additional 5% discount and the quantity has been increased. This is only for chocolates. So for nuts, it would not be there. So let me see if this is increased. Yes, it is increased. So wherever there was 5, it became 20, and wherever there was 10, it became 25, right? So we have updated this value, and there is also a discount that has been applied. Another 5% discount has been applied. Okay, so this is what we do now. We have changed a couple of values, and if there are multiple columns, then we can change that as well. Okay, so that is what we do. So this is update. So previously we had created the table. Next, we use the select statements, that is for retrieve. Then we update it. So this is essentially, if you have to say this, this is essentially called as CRUD commands. C for create, R for retrieve, U for update, and then D for delete. Okay, so this is what we have. And we still have to do our D statements, so we have to delete it. So let me try to run this again. Select star from items. And we have the records here. So there is 304546, something that is null. And we have 301213, right? So certain records are there. And there are certain records which have null values, etc. Right? So the next thing that we'll look at from the CRUD commands is the D, which is delete. How do we delete values, right? So in order to delete values, this is again same. So delete from items where item code equals 3045, right? And 3046, right? I want to delete them. So I run this. So these two items are deleted, right? So they are removed from the database or from our table, in fact. Similarly, we want to delete the item code that is null. So where item code is null, I just want to write this, and then this also deletes the table, right? So let's check if this really has been deleted. So all that we do is select star from items and then look at the bottom rows, and we see that they are not present now, right? They have been deleted, right? So we are able to remove or delete these items. So you can do this in this fashion. So this is about delete, and we are now at the end of delete statements, right? So any questions on this, guys? Anything we missed or anything is not clear? Okay, no questions. All right, so the next one that we will try to do is load the data from a local file system, right? That is what we'll try to do. There were two files that I have uploaded on the Google Drive, the same link that we used yesterday. So let me try to share the link again. So it's the same link. I'll also put them on GitHub after today's session. I'll have all of these on GitHub and share the link in the group as well. So you can check the files on the GitHub as well. Okay, this is the drive where I have added those two files, items.csv, items.tsv, and items_csv.csv. The two files are available there. So what we'll try to do now is I'll quickly show you how to run this from the command line. So we can run this from the command line, and we'll be able to see how to import data from the command line itself. So we have the file, and this file is present on a particular path on the machine. So for this, I have to be in MySQL. So I go to MySQL. I specify the username. So I use MySQL space -u space username. The username is root, and I provide the password. Password is indicated by -p. So MySQL is the software that we are going to use. -u is indicating for username. The username is root and -p, right? And give the password, right? So we enter the MySQL prompt. Okay, so load the data from a CSV file, right? I use this load data and then use the keyword called as local in file. Okay, indicating that this is a local file, and this is actually an in file, means this is going from the local disk uh, to the MySQL server, right? That is what is happening. And let me try to get the path for this local file. And then this is C drive. And then it is under users. Okay, I provide two backslashes. One is to provide the path, other one is to escape it, right? That is why I use two of them. And then the name of it. Okay, so for you, it says MySQL is not recognized as an internal or external command, right? So are you aware of the environment variables and system variables? Yes, okay. So in system variables, we'll have path, right? So what you have to do is go to program files, go to MySQL, and then you'll find MySQL server version and bin, right? Program files, MySQL, MySQL server, and then you'll have bin. You have to take that part until bin and put it part under system files, and then open up a new command prompt or a interactive session. You have to close this command prompt and open a new command prompt. That will work. Okay. All right. So we have this particular path here, and then we have documents, and then I provide the file items underscore csv dot csv. This is what I have. Okay, and then I say into table, and what is the table name? Oh, sorry, I have not provided the table name, right? Or into table, and because I've not changed where it has to use this. Just give me a minute, guys. Right. So if you have to do this, we can use the database initially, or I can give the complete name here. So our database name is kiranadb.items, right? So that is how I'll represent the database and the table name. And from here, I'll say columns terminated by. So I'll use columns are terminated by, the columns are terminated by the comma, right? And then lines are terminated by. Lines are terminated by, right, the new line, the carriage return and the new line. So that is what I want to specify. Okay, so that is what would be the file now. Every record would be in this fashion. So this would be the new line, carriage return, enter, and then there is a new line character that we have added to the file, and that will anyways be treated as null. So this is how we want to specify, and then records would be in. Due to restrictions on access, is it? So just a minute, I think I have to enable the same thing. There is some problem with local in file. So let me try to enable this. And then I quit it and I come back to MySQL. Okay, and then I try to again set the local in file option. and then try to run the command. Okay, this should be B, but this is correct, right? Mm. Oh, we are already in MySQL. Sorry, I think I have to just give a minute. I think I'll come back to this. So I have to use this, and then right. Now, once I have done this, let me go back to the command. Yes. So we have local data, local in file, and then we have items underscore CSV, and then into table, columns terminated, lines terminated. Now we see that the queries are correct, right? So we have to enable this option, local in file option. Then the records would be inserted into the table, right? So that is what we have here. So the data has been inserted. Now, the next thing that we will do is check if the table have this data. So I'll just do this from items. Okay, so I'm not used the database. So I use something like this. So database name dot table. This would be correct. What is happening? Ah, there should be a. Oh, now we get the data. And we see that the records that we are inserted were RK271, KB272, 273, and so on and so forth, right? So we have chicky nuts, toothpaste, and then toothpaste kits, right, from different vendors. So this is what we see in the table. So the data is present in the table. Now we have the data available. All right. So this is how we insert a file from the MySQL prompt. Okay. Any questions on this? All right. If there are no questions, let me quit this prompt and then try to upload the CSV file for the TSV file, not CSV file, TSV file, which is basically tab separated file. So in order to upload the tab separated file, we'll use a utility that is available, which is called as MySQL import. This is a utility that is available, and the option that it takes is basically username, root, and then password, which we have to type in when we run this command. And I want to use the local option. And the file is present right now in this particular directory, which is documents directory. And the database that I'm going to use is Kirana DB, right? That is what I specify. And the file name is items.csv, TSV, not CSV, TSV. So when I use TSV, this is tab separated file and the database is Kirana DB. Now what it means is that we have to specify the database name and the file name should be the same as the table name, right? So MySQL import expects the file name to be the same as the table name, right? This is what we have, .tsv have put here. So we have Kirana DB items.tsv and we have 138 as our last ID, right? So this will ask for the password. I enter the password, right? It says items record 7. Nothing was deleted nor nothing was skipped. So let me go and check in this editor in our workbench. So in this workbench, we see that there is now 145, right? The record has the item count record has increased from 138 to 145. So 7 records were inserted, right? So this is how we will be able to insert or load data from a file into a table. Okay, any questions on this? How to load the data? Okay, no questions. So then we will try to look at the other things. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to use what is called as a in operator. So in operator can be used on string values, and we want to check if not only in on string operator, but for multiple values, not only just for string, but it could be used for other values as well. But if there are multiple values, we want to see if a particular value or a column is present in those values, then we can use in. Okay, how do we use that? Let's do this here in this fashion. So select star from items, where item name in, let's say we want to check in these things. One is chocolate, the other one is chicken. Okay, this is where we want to check whether the data is available. Star from items, right? This should be items, and this should work. Okay, so these are the records that are available for what we are checking for. Okay, and let me check if it was chicken nuts or chicken nuts. Yeah, this was chicken nuts, so that is why this is not available. Now, oh, still it is not coming up. So probably the spelling is correct, or let me just check the data once again. Not popping up. The spelling is correct, and if it is there in this particular value. Item name should be correct, but this is not popping up for some reason. Let me try biscuits otherwise. Chocolates and biscuits. This should come up, but these values are not popping up. Just give a minute. Something is not coming up in here. I did where item name. Item name is correct. All right, so something went wrong here. Just give me a minute, guys. So this is the item name only, right? This is an item name that we have, and the item name should be in some reason this is not coming up. Let me try to run this. Is this working? Yeah. Let me do one thing. Let me try to run this in this fashion. Yeah, this is working. For some reason, chicken nut is not coming up. Noodles and chocolates are there. And should be also biscuits, right? What was the spelling that we had for that? Biscuits. Let me check from the output here. PUI, right? I see. That is what it is. So it is PUI biscuits. Okay. So probably we'll get the details now, right? So, right. So whenever we have multiple values, we'll be able to get this in this fashion. So that is how we are able to get the details here. Okay, so we can use this in operator in order to check for values. And let's say we want to do it for item code. So select star from items, where item code in, I want to check for 2356, 3012, and 3013. Right, we get those values itself. So it checks for 2356, 3012, and 3013. So that is what is returned. So when you check for only those values, that is what would be returned. So that is how we can use in. Let's say I want to get all the records except for where the item name is not in, right? Where the item name is not in chocolates or noodles. We want all those records which is not this. Right, then we get all the values. We get biscuit, shampoo, etc. The other values are also retrieved except for chocolates and noodles. Right, so not in can be used for those cases. All right, so that is how we can use these values. Let's say we want range of values. Let's say we want to select from range of values. So I say select star from items where price is between, we want to get all the items where the price is between, let's say 10 and 80. Okay, we use the between operator. For range, we use the between operator. Between, and I also want to specify some other condition, so or a range of values for some other column, right? So quantity, let's say I want to use for quantity. Quantity is between 5 and 40. Right, so this is how I can specify using the between keyword. So select star from items where price is between 10 and 80 and quantity is between 5 and 40. Right, so we get 10 also inclusive and 80 also inclusive. That is how we get all the values. Similarly, we get the values for 5 and 40. Okay, so quantity is between 5 and 40. Price is between 10 and 80. So that is how we use the between operator. Okay. So any questions still here, guys? Okay, if there are no questions, next one is let's look at distinct keyword. Let's say we want to get the distinct values from our item names. Select star from our distinct item names. We want to get the distinct item name. So I would say just distinct item name from items. And this is what I want to do. So what are the distinct values that are available? So we have noodles, biscuit, shampoo, etc. All these are the distinct items that are available. Right, so these are the values that we have within the table, and these are distinct values that are present. Okay, there could be multiple rows, and how many of them we can look at that later when we come to some other commands. We'll also see how many of them are there. Okay, so select distinct item name from items. This is what it will give us. Okay, so similarly, let's say we want distinct prices, right? Distinct prices that are there from our items table. Right, we get all the distinct prices that are there in our items table. Okay, so if we want the unique values, then we can go for the distinct keyword. Fine, so that is how we'll be able to use distinct keyword here. And if we want to order the values, let's say we want to order the values for a particular uh, column, right? We want to order the values based in a ascending order or in a descending order. Let's say we want to order them. So we can order them in this fashion. So select star from items where item name for chocolates, let's say we want to order them. Okay, chocolates is something that we want to do, and then I want to order these records based on the prices in the ascending order. And whenever we do like this, order by price indicates that we want to go or sort them or see the records in a sequential increasing order starting from the lowest value for the price column. Right, so the lowest value is 90.25, 90.25, and the highest value is 285. So this is an ascending order, right? So this one becomes an ascending order. By default, it is an ascending order. But let's say if you want to get these values in the descending order, I use DESC as the keyword, or it is specific saying that it is descending in nature. And let's see the output. So we get the descending values, right? So if we leave this as ASC, which is anyways the default, this will be the ascending order. And if we use the same thing for DESC, this is anyways the descending order, right? We get the descending values. Fine. So we get the descending values in this fashion. All right. So any questions on these, folks? Whatever whatever we did today, any questions on them? All right, then if there are no questions, then what we'll do is we'll stop here, and then we will start with the other aspects like aggregations in our next session, and that we will do it on Monday. All right, till then, goodbye, good night, and a happy weekend.